about medium and wide with dress pumps, sling bags, flats, wedges, sandals, tennis, nursing shoes, career kicks, and Crocs. Men, check out our dress and casual shoes, tennis, cleats, sandals, work boots, and water shoes. And for children, dress shoes, casual, school shoes, tennis, cleats, sandals, ballet, jazz, christening, and bedroom shoes. So complete your look at Richie's Calypso, your number one family-friendly footwear store.
Good morning again, Facebook, and welcome to another very live and provocative session of Real Talk with Chrishna Bowe. Thank you for tuning in as always, and please share this video. We have another very interesting topic for you today. As you know, I am an advocate of mental health awareness simply because I've experienced it. I've experienced the horrors of it. And I realized that it's such a taboo subject in our community. So I feel that the Lord has placed it on my heart to really bring more awareness to mental health, to bring more knowledge, so that as a community and even as persons who have loved ones who are experiencing a mental or emotional crisis, or who are themselves going through some type of crisis, will realize that one, they're not alone, and that two, you're not crazy, and at three, there is help and there is a way for you to get out of what you're going through. Now, during the last couple of shows, we've looked at some very hot button topics in the community. We've dealt a lot with sexual abuse and also the mental effects that that has on you. And we realize that when you do go through a mental or emotional crisis, it can be for several reasons. There are triggers, there are traumas, there are situations that can cause you to spiral into a mental crisis. And then sometimes it just happens and we have no explanation. So mental breakdowns are actually more common than we would like to think. There are many of us who are actually suffering in silence. And one of the purposes of this program is to get you past that point of suffering in silence, letting you know that you can actually address this and get yourself better. So before we dig in really deep, I just want to, of course, thank my partners who believe in what we're doing, who believe in this education of our community, who believe in helping their brothers and sisters. And I'm going to start with good old faithful Richie's Calypso. Yes, that's the way I like to say Richie's Calypso. I want to say a shout out to Rhonda and the girls down there in the Churchill Square. If you've been in Grand Bahama for more than a day, then you are very familiar with Richie's Calypso. They've been in business for over 40 years, and they are your family-friendly shoe store. So check them out. You'd be surprised at what you find. They're trending. They have sizes that start from infant straight up to size 15. So check out Richie's Calypso. Let's support our local businesses. And in addition to Richie's this morning, of course, we have simply the best multimedia company, which is such a great sponsor and believer in Real Talk. We thank them for just everything that they do for us every week. This show would actually really not be possible without them. They are our production crew, our producers, the president, Clifford Bowe. Want to say a great shout out and thank you to Simply the Best in the Mareport building downtown for all your audiovisual needs. And our third sponsor for the day is none other than Bullseye Car Rental. We got Jardinelle and Ramon Bowe down there close to where the, what was that? The old, yeah, close to Patricia High School, down from Le Chateau on the Green. That's, and Bullseye Car Rental, listen, if you need a car, you need it quick, you need efficient, professional service, Bullseye Car Rental is the place to go. Always ready to serve you with a smile, great prices, and just supreme customer service. So we want to thank Bullseye. They always support us in everything we do, and we just want to say thank you. Now, without further ado, we are going to get into what we are discussing today. And I have in the studio with me two people that are very near and dear to my heart. And I'm sure they're very near and dear to many of your hearts because, listen, I like to call them the ninja helpers. And when I say the ninja helpers, you don't see them, you don't hear from them, but they are through this Grand Bahama community helping many of those who are in need in many different ways. And I have Dax and Dames from the Painter's Touch, the best painting company in Grand Bahama. And then he has his wife, Leonora Dames. Some of you Real Talk watchers may be familiar with Nora, as she's been on our show several times, sharing her experiences and sharing the mental crisis that she experienced in her life several years ago and how she got through that. But today we are actually going to be talking more with Daxton, who is the husband of Nora. And you know, we talk a lot about the persons who go through mental breakdowns, mental crisis. I mean, whatever we want to call it. All you know is, look, emotionally you're not in a good place. You're in a dark place. Sometimes it becomes debilitating. You can be racked with anxiety, depression, psychosis, all sorts of different professional terms. But the reality of it is you're in a very, very bad place. And that's what we know about emotional distress. And I know that a lot of times we focus on the persons who actually experience it. But Dax, I think sometimes it can be, I wouldn't say equally because nothing could compare, but I think it can be very difficult for those loved ones who are actually on the sidelines watching the person they love going through this turmoil, and in a lot of ways thinking that, you know, how can I help, or I can't help. So I know that that is what you experienced firsthand, that it was a very, very traumatic situation for you and your family, because at the time when Nora first started to go through, you already had five. They paid their debt to society, folks. No, you had five.
No, when I first went through it, I had 4.
So you had started to go through it before Berta was born?
Yes.
Okay, didn't realize that. I learned something today. Okay, so Dax, so let's start at the beginning if we can. And I like to pick your brain because I don't know why a lot of women, not saying that men don't go through emotional breakdowns, but it does seem to me that it's more prevalent with women. Just based on people who've contacted me and just in daily interaction, it does seem like women seem to experience a mental breakdown more often than men. Now, for you, how would you say it started with Nora?
Looking back, it's very difficult to point a point in time that you say this is when it started. If I could say, it just happened. You know, everything seems to be normal until a particular day she began to say some things and act strangely and so forth. And so that'll be my starting point. So for me, there's not a time frame that I actually could put on and say, look here, this tragedy took place, this took place, or that took place, and then this started. No.
You just noticed behavioral
Just behavior,
changes.
yes.
And give me some of those behavioral
Well,
changes.
you made a statement that people will choose to sometimes call you crazy. So sometimes when you are saying things, then you'll say, my wife acting.
Yeah, what she's saying is not adding up.
That ain't adding up. And she dictates a lot. So it seems that you're going on with the journey. So if she said, let's go left, you go left. If she said, right, even though it make no sense to you going left, you go because you think something wrong, something right here.
So that's one of the, and the reason I'm asking you to be detailed, Dax, is because I really want, like, husbands, and even if you're not a husband, you may be a sister, you may be a mother, you may be a friend. Sometimes it's important to realize when something is wrong, and that's why I'm asking you.
Yes.
Like, what are some of the things? So she just started saying a lot of stuff that was not making sense. For example,
just say you take some from the scriptures, and she believed that the Bible is saying that the children will be judged. She believed that's her children. So she got to fix that. And fixing that may mean we got to go to the pastor, we got to pray for them, they need to get baptized, well, you know what I mean? Because she want to know her children are saved. You know, and so the enemy now has been using truth now for a lie, and if you don't watch it, she could take you down the road, and next thing you know, you can find yourself on the beach with your little babies going to baptize them.
Right.
You know, and
Right.
when you say certain things to that, then you realize, wow, this ain't normal.
Yes, right,
This
right.
ain't normal.
And what were you, while that was happening, or what was going through your mind?
I don't think
Or you
want to
weren't
go
really
there.
conscious of
No,
a lot of,
that's what was going through my mind.
everything seemed
I
very
gave
literal.
I think I gave Daxon little nuggets, but I didn't come out forward and tell him I was having dreams and different things was happening in my mind. I just told him, no, honey, one day you're going to come home and the house is going to be empty. So I think that was a nugget, and that was, you know, what I remember I told him. But I didn't tell him what was really going on in my mind until, you know, it just went chaotic.
Okay. All right. Okay. So, all right, Daxton, you're at a point now where your wife, that you've had 4 children with, everything has been normal all of this time, and she's starting now to say things that don't make sense and to take things very literally that shouldn't be taken literally. What do you do?
Well, the first thing you do, you say, let's go to pastor. You know, who happens to be a pastor? My pastor at that time was Cedric Beckles, so we went to him. You know, and then he guided us through what we need to do, probably seek some medical help and so forth at the initial stage. You know, and then he talked with her and so forth, and that was the starting point on trying to go forward.
Okay, so the first thing you did was you seek spiritual guidance.
Yes.
And why did you go that route first?
Because that was our strength. I mean, honestly, you didn't know what was going on.
Right.
You have no knowledge
Okay.
of what's going on.
Yeah.
You have no
I
book.
guide him there,
Or no,
running all the red
and again, that's her again. That night, she said, let's go to pastor. So even if the light was red, don't stop. Let's go to pastor.
Right.
So again, like I said before, she dictates
didn't
pretty well.
stop.
And boy, that was crazy. Anyway, so again, that's what I started to say earlier, is that you don't have no manual. It's nothing you can go to and say, okay, now my wife is doing this. So you're totally lost. You literally take it in one day at a time.
Right.
And pray to God, your friends and family and a pastor who can help you and guide you through this and say some encouraging things and so forth. But there's no manual for this script. No, not at all.
I don't think so.
No, it's not.
No. But I'm just asking because for those who are watching, you know, sometimes some people they do suffer in silence, and they are really, like you say, this happens and it kind of knocks the wind out of you and you don't know whether to go left or right.
Yes.
So I'm just saying for you decided to seek the help of your spiritual leader at the time.
Yes.
Okay, and then he instructed you to maybe go and see a medical doctor.
Yes, it did.
Okay, so what did the doctor say?
Well, most of the time, you know, the language they use was doctor terms, and they give you medications and so forth. That I feel that particular time it didn't work. You know what I mean?
You felt the medications did not work.
No. The wife looked drowsy, like tired, and always sleepy, like and we wasn't getting zombies fight, and she wasn't getting nowhere. She's still saying the same things, maybe saying a little slower this time around, but there's no change. I mean, for me at that particular time, no.
So, Nora, you felt the same way that you did not feel that the meds that were prescribed at that time helped you out a bit?
No, like I said, that was almost like a zombified. So you're just moving through the motions, doing it, just
Yes,
doing
I
what you
understand.
routine.
And what happened for me then I felt as though that she needed some rest. So I sent Andres to my parents. You know what I mean? Just get away and so forth. And I think
Change of environment.
2 of our kids went with you.
The twins.
The twins went with
Lexi came afterwards.
And Lexi came afterwards. And somewhere in there on the island, it just got voice that there was emergency flight to Nassau.
And you think, like looking back, of course, you know, like you say, when you're going through, we have such little help and resource here on the island. And I think that is what makes it so difficult, because when you say that she went to the doctors and really all she became is zombified, you know, when you really look at it, that's really not what should have happened. You know, there should have been a more balanced approach to really dig deep as to what was going on with her, how can we get her back to a sense of normalcy, and it seems like we're missing that so much. And so you did what you thought would have helped, and that was a change of environment.
Yes.
Which made things worse.
Yes. And that's when I think my mom told me that she was taking the kids to the beach and so forth to go baptize them and all that. So she ended up going to Nassau in the straight jacket to silence. So now that's when my whole world broke down, you know. Again, I went back to my pastor and he told me, okay, then we'll fly over there. Or, but when they moved her to Nassau, then I flew over to Nassau at silence. And that's when reality really, really hit. So, because when you walk up there and you're seeing all those loved ones of their men going through the medical, the mental issues, and here's your wife in the midst of that, that's when it really hits you. This is beyond me. And I think somewhere in there, what I did after that, I begged them to let me take her back to Freeport, and they allowed me. I had to make some provision first and so forth, make sure there was a bed in Freeport and get all of my tickets together. So they allowed her to go, to come back to Freeport. And I made my mind up, I'm going to stay with my wife. I think that was the changing point. If I had to quit my job, so forth, I don't care how we do this, I'm going to stay with my wife, because the deal was to send them back to the Dyer Ward. And I say, nah. But I didn't tell them that. So when they flew over, we went home, and said, look, we can spend every day together. And that's when I really feel as though the healing part started. Spending time with her and so forth, and trying to alleviate some of those responsibilities.
So I think what happened, Dax, as I look at it and I listen to you, and of course, you know, I've heard your story before because we are for all friends. It seems to me like you became a therapist.
Yes, I think so. And that's what I really believe, because what I think I shared this last time with you, that ability is placed on women, and I don't think they were at all. As a helpmate, you're supposed to help. And I feel as though when you look back, you have 4 kids and they're all one after each other. So she always saying the right thing. If I want to go and play golf, because I love golf that particular time, oh, go ahead. So you become selfish and doing what you want to do. You go play golf, you go to work. And I felt as though being a man is like having 2 jobs. So I had a job where I went to the construction field from 8 to 4 and go home, catch a rest, and be at Lokaya for 11 to 7. So when am I home? But I'm doing a good job providing for my wife and my kids. Financially, I'm doing an excellent job taking care of my kids. But when I look back, I say, but who's taking care of my wife and my children? So she's the one who's trying to take them to the kindergarten. She's the one who's doing this. And you know, when you have twin boys and a baby and the next man, like, I think when I look back, I can really see that was on me. That was a mistake I think I made as a man. So at the end of the day, I really feel that.
And I like that you pointed that out, because one of the things I would like for this show to do, listen, when you get to the point where you're already having a breakdown, it's such a horrible experience. And I think as many women or as many people that can avoid having that type of break as possible would be great. And that is one of the great things about having you on the show, Dax, because I like what you said about women having their plate full. And I think that what happens in today's society is really, you know, we watch TV, we read magazines, we do all these things, and it tells us that, you know, women can have it all. And I can tell you the truth. Some may disagree with me who are watching, but I don't believe that. I don't believe that. I think it's a farce. And you watch these reality TV shows and you read magazines, and you have this story that is given to us that says that, okay, a woman can work, a woman can take care of 5 children, a woman can cook, a woman can clean, a woman can do all these different things, and she's going to be okay.
Yes.
And I honestly feel like a lot of the women who do end up in a state where they have, they find themselves in a depression, or they find themselves having a lot of anxiety, or they find themselves to the point where they actually become debilitated because they just can't function anymore. Yeah. Think a breakdown just occurs because it's too much.
Yes.
And you made a point. A lot of us who are married, or even if you're not married and you're with a guy, a lot of times the men in our lives do not realize the amount of pressure that a woman is under.
Yes, because like again, it is a domino effect, because we find ourselves in a lot of financial situation where we need some financial help. So it's good sometimes for some men to let their wife come in and throw that extra $400
Right.
in the pot. But at the same time, that $400, whether this comes with responsibility, whether it's a teacher working 9 to 3, you have to come home now, prepare dinner, help with homeworks and so forth,
Right,
and then
right.
pleases your husband and so forth.
Right.
And so now it become a heavy load, more responsibility now been placed on the wife. So I even
Right.
think for the women out there, they need to also tell themselves, you know what I mean? And being independent sometimes brings responsibility. And one aspect of your relationship is going to be neglected, or you have more responsibility. And I think
Right.
that's why you said earlier, it's simply is taking place with a lot of women.
Yes.
Women.
Yes, a lot of women are having emotional crises, and I do think it has a lot to do with the fact
it-
that
'cause
we're
the-
taking on more than we're supposed to, be it something that we've self-imposed, or be it we're in a situation where, you go, you become a mother, you become a wife, then you're also an employee, or in some cases, some women are in superior positions at their workplace, and now you're trying to juggle all of these things, and then you realize that one day it's just too much, you become overwhelmed, and before you know it, you are actually having a nervous breakdown.
Yep.
So I think that's a very, very important point. So one of the things I would ask Daxton then, I mean, you touched on it earlier, but just to be clear, a husband, let's say a husband right now, because right now you guys are in a good place.
Yeah.
This occurred almost 20 years ago, just for those watching, and I want you to look at them because they are your hope. They are victory, right? So we're happy to know that, the kids are grown now, and they just having a good time, just relaxing in the abundance of the Lord's grace and mercy. So I would ask you, for that husband right now, or even if it's not a husband, if it's a wife whose husband is having a breakdown, if it's a sister, mother, what advice would you give them? What would you tell them to do? If you see something is not right, something's going on at this moment, what would you tell them?
Like I said earlier, I think you need to get help and so forth. So I don't know what are the procedures today now with the medical and so forth. But I really feel as though I'll want them to examine their whole life. Where are you spending your time, your money, and so forth. And I think somewhere in there you'll see what's going on in the house. And that's why I find some women will say, I feel not connected. I don't feel like I'm loved anymore. They are the little things right there. It's a sign that something is wrong. And we could be very selfish human beings on both sides and so forth. And we all want to be catered to. But when you truly love somebody, then you're trying to figure out what's going on. How can I make it better? And most of the time, I'm telling you, it is just that. People have too much on their plate.
I totally agree, Dax. I totally agree, because even with my breakdown, I feel like I realized in my mind that there were a lot of mindsets that I had. And as a person, one of the things we need to recognize is our limitations. And sometimes it's hard for us to do that because, we feel like we should be superwomen. We have this image. We have this notion or this ideal that, hey, I'm a woman, I can be a mother, I can be an employee, I can be a boss, I can be a wife, I can be in charge of the ministry of church, I can be the PTA president, I can do all of this stuff. And we burn ourselves out. And it doesn't have to happen. So I think, too, one of the things that I have learned, and some of it has come from you guys, is that I have learned that I have limits as a human being, and that I have to kind of stay within those limits. Know when to say, okay, no, I can't do that. Or, all right, I need to stop. I need to get some rest. I need to rejuvenate. Maybe even take a trip, a little change of pace just to catch myself. And I think, Nora, you had alluded to that before. And I want to ask you, because you were the one actually going through it. And Dax, and I believe that is what you're thinking as well, but I'd like to hear from you. What do you think brought on the break? Because according to what you would have told me before, you had what the doctors would call a psychotic break.
Postpartum psychosis.
Postpartum psychosis.
That's the highest level of psychotic state.
Right.
Yeah.
So what do you think in retrospect, looking back?
Okay, just want to say hi to Shanera, hi to Candy, hi to Jadanelle, hi
Oh,
to
hi,
Cindy.
everybody. I'm not even
hi
on my
Julian,
phone. Oh,
hi
jeez.
Julian, everybody who's tuning. Well, for me, I think what Daxon said, when Daxon was my therapist, and when you're going through it, only there are persons that wouldn't get to you. So only the person close to you would be the one that could get inside your mind. So the things that Daxon said reassured me that, life is going to be better. He know I had a rough childhood. Childhood trauma was one
A
of the
key
cause of it,
factor.
because I find myself thinking thoughts like, what did I do wrong? Should I go back and forgive these people who did this wrong to me? And it was like, just troubling in your mind. But Daxon reassured me that, you have a new family, God is with you, I'm with you, I'll never leave you. And one of the key moments Daxon did for me that really turned my mind around at the second time, we was going to the run, and we had our baby Alberto, and he's asthmatic. He was asthmatic, and he was having a hard time breathing. So we taken him to the doctor, and at the same time, I wasn't feeling well. So I think we was going to the doctor for me, and it started to rain, but he took the blanket off of Alberto, and he placed it on me. And I said, no, 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 Daxon, he's asthmatic, you can't. He said, listen here, God could always give me another child and take home Alberto because he hasn't lived life as yet. But for you, I don't want to never leave you, lose you. So that really, I was like, wow, this man really, really, really loved me. Because love was the thing that, like Jadanelle said, love is the key,
Yes.
which is very true. When you know that person really, really love you, you'll want to come back to your normal state of mind and say, guess what? I don't want them 100 sexy guys. They're chasing after my Daxon.
Okay, well,
yeah.
that's good. That's good. But what I wanted you to touch on, and I mean, I'm always amazed when I hear the story, Daxon. I really, really have to give you your props. Not that you're looking for them, but man, let me tell you
Yeah.
something. For you to stand by her the way you did, and I don't think
he did.
you still haven't described the gravity of the
No,
situation.
No.
Because it was a lot more grave
Yep.
than you have portrayed. And I want you to mention some of those things because people watching may feel like, oh, she just went through it or something. No, this lady was in a straitjacket on an emergency flight to Nassau. That is how extreme the mental crisis became.
Yeah.
What are some of the other things like you could think of that y'all were going through?
I mean, besides that, that'll be the highest point right there. Most of it will be what she's saying and so forth. And then, like I said before, I had to release the situation. I began to be the one to take control, meaning, no, you're not going anywhere. No, you're staying home. I can spend some time with you. And then life lessons, I began, for instance, when, after the twins, and she was going through this, she was doing good, and then she got tied off. And we all know that when she got tied off, they used the curl. That didn't work.
Oh my gosh.
So the very next year, we having the last boy, Alberto. And that was like, man.
Oh my
You know
God.
what? And I could see in her face again that she felt as though she did this. You know what I mean?
Self-inflicting.
She feel like, oh, if I didn't get pregnant, that kind of way.
The situation.
Yeah,
would not
and so
be made worse.
I want to go through this and so forth. And then the Holy Spirit has allowed me to hold her hand one day. We have 5 kids, so I say, if God could feed 5,000, why you can't feed 5, baby? God
that
can give
calmed
it
my
us.
mind
And
down.
again, we took a walk and I was holding her hand. That's what I shared with her. So I feel that was my using God's word in a legitimate way. Because we needed that right there and then, because that's the things come on your mind. You're in an apartment. It's in a 2-bedroom apartment. This is your 5th child, and she feels as though, you know what I mean? Now we can deal with this, And like I say again, that's what I had to do. Comfort her with the truth of the gospel and spend time with her. I was willing just to quit my work. If it means me going Andres and we hang out together and eat off the land, something. But I realized I couldn't leave her alone, and I became more protective that I don't want to leave her with nobody. That was a part of the deal, because sometimes people find the most stupidest things to say in crisis time. They don't know what to
Yes,
say.
and
You know what I mean?
please expound on that, Dax, because I don't think, not I don't think, I know if you have not gone through a mental crisis, I beg of you people, please close your mouth.
Yes.
And I mean that in the best possible way because you just simply cannot understand. And this is one of my pet peeves with the situation because people say all sorts of stuff. You know, they say stuff like, okay, why she can't get over it?
Yes.
You know,
You are not, you're not trusting God. I mean, you're
right,
supposed to just jump out of this the next morning and so
right,
forth. And then they like to try to diagnose you with situation in your past, like probably was this and probably was that, and they just don't understand what's going on. And they just put more wood on this fire. Sometimes you just need to be, you just need to shut up. Like when Joe's friends came by, what could we say? What could we say right now? Just support by being here. But I don't know what to say right now. And that's how I felt also until the Holy Spirit began to use me and so forth to handle my wife. But we realized that was something I also was protecting of it because individual will come and say something and I really believe they throw another piece of wood on my wife's shoulder.
Yeah.
So that's when I decided to establish my little rules. This one ain't come in my house. That one can't come around and so forth. Even if it's your mother, I feel I don't care what it is.
Very,
I
very
don't care what it
important.
is.
And you know, Nora really more or less was my therapist when I was in the heat of my mental crisis. And one of the things she did for me is what you did for her. And she was very, very particular about telling me, you know, certain people, like if you got some negative people in your life, they can't be around you if you're going through a crisis.
Yeah.
Because whatever they're going to say to you, it's always going to be negative. It's always, they can't help themselves. That's just who they are. And you have to learn now, this is maybe a person that I have to keep out of my life during this season.
And some might just be doing it of ignorance.
Right,
They may have good intentions
right,
by saying some things, but they don't know what they're really doing.
No.
You know what I mean? And unless you see sometimes, was this experience with God put us through? Because sometimes we say all things work together for good. The time when you went to go through your issues, and I saw my wife just take over. My wife would tell me, I have to go by Chrishna for 8 o'clock.
Right.
I have to be there first thing in the morning. I have to be there at this time. And she just took over. I go back to the beach and I sit down and I relax myself because I understand what was going on. I was not going to be the husband and say, oh, you need to go home right now. No. I'll drop you there. Because see, that's what experience does. And that's where God work all things together for good.
Thank God for
you see what I mean? And I think that is the key. People who go through these things and have overcome it, you have to be very gentle with persons in this situation. Because you can literally take your wife to the next level. If a husband begin to call your wife stupid, you need to get up. You need to get like you may come on and meet her hanging. You may come on and meet her dead. Why? Because you're saying all the wrong things.
Right.
You know what I mean? All the wrong things sometimes.
Right.
All the frustration.
And that is very, very true because I don't think we realize how detrimental it could be. You know, and sometimes you really have to be very, very sensitive because I read something the other day. You know, you had Kate Spade, Anthony Bourdain, Robin Williams, 3 very well-known people who committed suicide. And all of the people around them said what great persons they were. You know, like how they were, the father said he just spoken to Kate Spade an hour before she killed herself, and she was planning a trip. But like you say, Dax, sometimes you really have to listen, and you have to listen very intensely.
Yeah.
Because just because a person may be smiling, it doesn't even necessarily mean that they're okay. And with that note, we are going to come back. Of course, you know, this is very, very deep conversation. But I just want to say a shout out again to Richie's Calypso, Simply the Best, and Bullseye Car Rental. They are our partners today who believe in what we're doing and who continue to support this show. I want to say thank you. And we're going to head to a 30-second commercial break. Ladies and gents, we'll be right back.
30 seconds?
30 seconds.
So, what's your fancy? Ladies, how about medium and wide stress pumps, slingbacks, flats, wedges, sandals, tennis, nursing shoes, career kicks, and crocs? Men, check out our dress and casual shoes, tennis, cleats, sandals, work boots, and water shoes. And for children, dress shoes, casual, casual shoes, tennis, cleats, sandals, ballet, jazz, christening, and bedroom shoes. So complete your look with Christian Collectible, your number one family-friendly footwear store.
Okay, welcome back to Real Talk. And just for those of you who are just tuning in, we are speaking today with the spouse, with the husband of Leonora Dames. And as we may know or not know, Leonora experienced what we call a psychotic break almost 20 years ago. And Daxton Dames, her husband, was just explaining to us how we can get through some of the do's, some of the don'ts, because it's a very, very real problem in our society. There's so many people that do struggle with mental illnesses, but they struggle in silence. We're so afraid that people are gonna say we're crazy, or even like my husband and I were talking about it one day, and I mean the fear is real, because even with job opportunities, that can happen. If somebody knows that maybe you've experienced some type of mental crisis, they may not even want to give you a job. So, not the fear is real, and in some cases it's legitimate. But struggling in silence is never the way to go, because it can really lead to devastating results. And that's why we encourage you not to struggle in silence, to be open about your experience, to seek help with your experience. And we have Dax and Nora here this morning, and they have really, really shed a lot of light on mental illnesses and how they have worked through it as a couple. And I want to commend Dax again, because I think he did such a great job. And before we went to commercial break, we were talking about some of the things that people say, and sometimes it can be very insensitive. I just want to say, I see we got Sharon on, we got Ja, we got Ginger, we got Nicola. Thank you all for tuning in. Please share the video, because this is really important information. And I'm learning that not even learning, but when I went to see a doctor, he said to me that 1 in every 3 persons will experience some type of mental crisis at some point in their life. People, that's a lot. So it means that all of us are going to know somebody, or are going to, at some point in our lives, have a loved one that is going to go through some type of mental crisis, some type of anxiety, depression, some type of psychosis, schizophrenia, bipolar, whatever it may be. 1 in every 3 persons is going to have that. So chances are you are going to have a loved one at some point that is going to go through that, or you may actually be the person who is going to go through that. So this is important information, because we're here to help you get through that. And that's one of the things that Nora would tell me all the time when I was in the heat of it, that, you're going to get through this. So I would like right now, we know that a don't is be careful what you say, because a person is having a mental crisis, they can't just snap out of it. They can't just, and then we come with that spiritual condemnation, where sometimes, you just need to trust in the Lord. And as a believer, not saying that we don't trust in the Lord, but you can't just tell a person that and then move on. It's a process, and you need to be supportive, and really, really aware of what that person is going through, so that you can help them work through that process. Daxton, Nora, what are some of the other don'ts that you would say to people who are listening? If you have a loved one who's going through something, what are some of the don'ts?
One of the don'ts for me is that don't be ashamed. Because if anybody would have asked me, where's your wife? She's in the hospital. You don't want to even use the word, it's a diaward. You don't want to use it. It's a curse. Diaward. And like you said, it's a curse. It may follow you for the rest of your life. So like that, you hide it. And because of that, how could you get help? How could you get help if you don't tell somebody, my wife is going through some serious mental issue right now? And the same person you might be talking to might have passed through that.
Right, and that's what I find.
Yep.
That's what I find. So that's a big don't, people. Don't be, I know it's hard, but put that pride aside. Don't be ashamed.
Yes,
Speak
yes.
to somebody.
Yes.
Nora, what about you? What is a big don't? Nora, you're so nice and settled today, just,
Because, Daxon's point of view. But I mean, and for me, I mean, going through when you're going through it in your mind, and if I'm looking back, I can't say don't think those bad thoughts because someone has to teach you
Right.
how to rethink, some of the thoughts you have. So try. I can't even tell you don't think it because if you're going through a mental breakdown,
The
you're
experts-
already.
Yeah, the
You're
experts
already,
call
yeah,
it
yeah.
cognitive behavioral therapy.
Yeah.
And you know what? It can be very, very helpful. Unfortunately, I don't even know if we have anybody on the island, any licensed or therapist or psychologist or psychiatrist who even really specializes in that. Unfortunately, like Dak said earlier, people are discouraged even to go to the RAN, which is the only hospital we have here, because you feel like sometimes the only thing they're going to do is give you medication, and the medication in some cases could really not work with you,
Yeah.
and have you walking around like a zombie all day, and
Yes.
then you from
Yeah.
one,
Yeah.
you feel like, okay, from one fire to the next. So the bad part about it is I don't even know what do we do in a case like that.
Well, anyone who have any questions, you could ask questions online because we can see your comments. So if you have a
Right.
question,
Please
you can
do
ask
ask
me or
questions.
Jackson or
Yes.
Krishna a
Yes.
question. Hi, Brenda from Massachusetts. That's Clifford's mom.
Yeah, yeah.
Great support. Thank you. So if anyone have any questions, you could ask it online.
Yeah,
Or you can call in as well.
Yeah,
357-5256.
Correct. Well, I don't know. Like I was asking you before. What do we do? We have to be. It's not ideal, but we have to be the therapist for our loved ones.
Yes, the ones
Basically,
closest to you.
I feel as though
Yeah.
going to the doctor and stuff are not going to, we just cannot remove them out of the equation. But I feel like, I think I shared it before, I really think the responsibility falls back on the other half of that relationship. How to care for the wife or care for your husband. I mean, I got something to keep running through my mind. Every time I speak with a lady and ask me what my wife does, I say she's a housewife. For every woman I tell her to will say, I wish I was a housewife. And I'm like, why you ain't?
Right.
You know what I mean? The piece, because I always tell folks again, where your wife? I say, she won't play in Dolly House. That's what she doing. She's home playing Dolly House. She watching TV, she lay down. Like I always tell her, honey, you can manage your own day. Manage your day. If you want to wash on Monday and sweep on Tuesday and duffs on Friday, just take your time with your day. You get a car, go. Take something away off your shoulder. And I think that should really, really, really help her today. No, because I could go one day and she just sitting in the bed and Netflix and telling Alexa, I say, oh, like, look at I laugh. I mean, so when I go to the house, I say, my wife won't play Dolly House. She playing Dolly House. And again, most women wants that. And I have to go back to when we started off this conversation earlier, because I really believe there's a lot of, I'm sticking with this, there's a lot of responsibility on women that they do not supposed to be carrying today. And if God called you, if God said in the scriptures, my God don't lie, say they are the weaker vessel. You don't not designed to tote load.
Right. Oh, I agree.
You don't.
Totally.
And husband, if your husband didn't want to take the responsibility, make him take it. But do your part as a wife and a godly wife and trust God to take care of you and your family. Yes. Then going out there and adding all this other responsibility on you. Yes. And you can find yourself in a dire war. And if you kill yourself or something, he is a free man. So you can protect yourself. Man, and protect yourself in a godly way.
My God.
Protect yourself in a godly
way.
I mean, that's what I believe. I'm speaking from experience. Yeah. A lot of women, you're looking even when I take my sons off to the COB and I watch it, there's more young ladies. It's like 90 to 10 or 80 to 20. So I mean, they're going to be the young ladies that will get all the job, who's going to find a husband, and they're going to be going to work and so forth, and have another high statistic. So we need to try to fix the things that God saw from day one. Yes. Wife, be good just at home.
Yes.
Take care of your home. Look over your children. It's a man's responsibility. And since we are stronger, we can be the first one to freak out. We can do two jobs. The small things to us. If the rent due, we can deal with it. But then the wife going to know when you can pay the rent. And because you can't pay the rent when she wants you to pay, she going to get a job to help you pay the rent. Now she put the extra responsibility on herself. And I really believe that. Honest to God, I think that's
well, I totally agree with you. I do not subscribe to society's myth that a woman can do everything. I think it's a big setup, and I think it sets women up to just live lives of total unfulfillment. Because even if you don't get to the point where you have a mental break, most of you or most of us would be unhappy.
Yeah.
Because it's just too much.
I'm tired.
You're right. You go home at the end of the day, I mean, you're exhausted, and then you got a couple of kids waiting for you. And you got to, like you say, do homework. It's just crazy. It's just crazy the lives that we lead. And like you said, I do not believe that it is God's plan at all. That's why he had a certain model. But you know, we always say, like I always say, we always got to take licks.
Yep.
We always got to learn the hard way. Now, my thing is, though, Dax, now, that is great for a married woman. And then who's not married, who does not have that husband.
Try to balance it. She has to really, truly, to only try to balance. Try to balance her life and so forth, and try to alleviate some of those different responsibilities. Take it easy. Don't bite off more than she can chew. You know, something of that nature. Manage your life. Put God first, and again, allow God to provide certain things. Allow God to order you in certain direction. You know what I mean? Don't try to be this entrepreneur who want to do everything as a free and single woman, who want to
With
get to
children.
the top with children and all the different responsibilities. Then again, it could be another pressure on that individual. So take life slow. And have always a desire to find a husband to take some of the load. Put in the back of your mind, God, you're going to send me a man, because I ain't carrying all of this.
Right. Right. Right.
Let it be
You know,
top. Let it be top of your to-do list.
And you know, God hears our prayer.
Yep.
Yeah.
You know, as believers, one of the things, and it sounds kind of stupid to me as I look at it now, but you know, there were certain things I wouldn't even pray about before because I felt like, you know, people in Ethiopia are starving. And I'm asking the Lord to take one little pain I got on my side away. And then I end up feeling so unworthy because why am I asking God to do that? And there's so many other more, you know, crises or so many other problems in the world that are so much larger than what I have. But I have come to the conclusion that God cares about every aspect of our lives.
Every aspect.
Yes.
Yeah.
And as his children and as believers, we need to go to him with everything. Just like that, say, hey, God, you need to send that man in because I need some help up in here. You know, and not a bad thing. Not a bad thing. So
Just want to say hi to Sasha, hi to Robin,
Sasha,
all
Robin,
those,
yes,
all
thank
those
you.
who tune in.
Yes,
Thank
I
you for
want to
tuning
say
in.
thank you for tuning in. Share the video. This is important information. Like we said earlier, if you have not yourself experienced a mental crisis, unfortunately, somebody that you know, somebody that you even love, will probably experience some type of mental crisis.
Yes.
According to statistics, that is, at some point in their life. So this is a very important show. And I'm glad, Dax, that you've taken the time to come here and to just give us a husband's perspective because it's discouraging, unfortunately, but I don't know if a lot of men look at marriages and their wives the way you view it. You know, because they expect their women to be super women. They expect their women to carry all these different responsibilities, all these different loads, and sometimes they have the audacity to really abandon the woman when she does have a breakdown.
Yeah, yes,
You
they
know?
do. But Daxon, you know, Daxon is true. He's truly a great husband. You know, I call him my Lord. He is my, you know, like Sarah called him my Lord. I mean, he didn't tell me to lie for him, but you know, I call him my Lord. But one day, you know, I just was looking at him, and sometimes I smile and I blush because I say I thank God for giving me Daxon. You know, he
Thank
said,
God.
yeah, he sat down one day and he said, you know, honey, you know, the Bible tells us as husbands to love our wives like Christ loved the church.
Yes.
I haven't even touched that as yet. And he loves me. I don't think he could do any more for me than what he has done and what he is doing. And he feel as a man, he hasn't touched what Christ has done as yet.
Wow.
So, you know, I you know, as going through that, husbands, you need to let your wives know and show your wives that you love them. Because, you know, like, I think they had a book on love languages. You need to be, your love language need to be action. Showing her, you know, and supporting her. And like he said, he was really my therapist. Because plenty times when I thought, you know, I might have had a thought on my mind, and it's like the Lord brought him there and said, you know, Nora, he's going to do this, and the tears just run straight down my eyes, you know, because he said what I really needed to hear.
Yes. I have something I wanted to ask, but you know, It gone out of my head now.
Yeah,
Hopefully I'll get that thought
Yeah,
back because we're
yeah.
actually getting it. The time goes so quickly with this show. I just can't believe the time is upon us. And I guess as we end, you've explained a lot of what you've gone through, that you really had to step in and be the therapist, which if that's what you have to do for your loved one, that's what you're going to have to do. The advantage we have nowadays that I don't even think was as readily available to Dax and Nora back when this occurred was the internet. And, the thing about the internet is it has a lot of information. So you can actually really, really go to the internet, really look into a lot of these things that your loved ones may be experiencing or that you may be experiencing yourself, and you can even get some guidance as to how to help your loved one. But in Freeport, I think that many times we're going to have to be that therapist for our loved ones because they have very, very limited resources. So as we come to an end,
And it says Brenda says many men expect their wife to help them take care of the home. I thank God for my sons, which take care of their family and their mother.
Right,
That's a blessing.
Yes, and that would be my husband's mom. She has herself 5 boys, and has not.
Hi, Rashad.
Yes,
Rashad says,
we also have
love and
Tony
support your wife. That's paramount in protecting them from those who use the words to do more harm than
and
good.
That's
And that's true.
important. I'm glad that
Daxton
Rashad-
said that. Yeah,
that Rashad
said
tuned
that.
in and said that because Rashad is also a husband that has to really come to his wife's defense and to really support her and love her as she is now speaking out about the injustices that she experienced
As a child,
during her
yeah.
childhood, and as a result of it, she's being attacked from certain people. So Rashad has also had to come into that role of protecting her because it can get to the point where we know his wife is Cindy Goddard and she's experienced sexual abuse, but because of that, the other things that she's experienced, the depression and the anxiety and the bulimia, she's actually experienced some really awful side effects. And now Rashad as a husband has to continue to support her.
Yeah.
So, husbands especially and friends and families of those who are going through, please, and I'm going to beg of you, please, you're not going to understand because that is impossible, but you can be a very, very strong support system for that person. And I say that because I got it, it weighs heavily on me today to put that out there because I got a text from someone yesterday, a young lady, and she's going through what I am thinking is a mental crisis right now. And I just have to let her know a lot of people will not understand what you're experiencing. But we're gonna Clifford. Can we go to a commercial break? We just need to break real quick. Can we go to a commercial break?
We can continue to talk to you.
Yeah, but as I was saying, this young lady texted me yesterday, and I was very, very, my heart went out to her because obviously she's going through a mental crisis, and as I told her, there's going to be a lot of people who are not going to understand. And when I said that to her, she sent me back a message. She said, "You're sure right about that?" And it tells me just by that obviously she's surrounded by some persons who truly
Just don't understand.
they don't understand. And sometimes they don't understand. They may be giving her a lot of flack for that, So I encourage her to seek help. So that's what I encourage you all to do. So as we wrap up the show, we want to leave you with something that hopefully you can take with you. And Nora, I just want to ask you, and I'll ask Dax as well, 2 or 3 major things that helped you through the process. We can call them coping mechanisms, whatever we want to call them, but just to recap, 2 or 3 things that really, really helped you make it through that time in your life.
That time in my life, don't take too much on. Know when to stop. You have to know when to stop. You have to know when your physical body say you're tired, and just stop. That's one of them. And make sure your mind you keep your mind stayed on the Lord, on good things, things that are pure, things that are uplifting. Be careful what you watch. You don't have to watch the news every night. You don't have to buy that, obituary, that Thursday's paper every Thursday. The mind is a serious thing. So you have to do that as well, and make sure to stay closest to the people that support you. You have that support who understands you. Stay close to them because that's your support system. And my support system really came from the one who was laying in bed with me, who was my husband. So that was great for me. Yeah.
Okay, so Dax, we turn our attention to you.
Ask the same question.
Right, yeah, as a husband, as we come to a close, I just want to leave our viewers with some hope. And as I asked Nora, I'm now going to ask you, give us 2 or 3 coping mechanisms, like 2 or 3 things that stood out to you that will tell our viewers how to go through when a loved one is really in a mental crisis.
Well, it's to me, you have to really show love. I mean, the whole idea behind it, and love is a practical thing, so therefore, try to protect them, first of all, from themselves at times,
Right.
and then from others. So some people find a way of saying some things, like I said earlier, could be more damaging than would good, and some advice that they give sometimes will be, it's crazy. And besides that, I mean, you just have to take the initiative that, look, this is my wife, and the love for my wife, this is what I'm going to do. I have to be a mentor. I have to be the one who wants to be around her. I have to be by her bedside. I have to say the encouraging things. I have to correct her. I mean, all because this is my wife. And I think if you can find yourself doing that, then hey, you'll be on the right path.
Okay, all right. Well, that sounds good, and that's I'm going to ask you to speak to the men out there as well. And I want you to, because we go to the altar and we say for better or for worse. But I acknowledge that when you are going through a mental crisis, it is very hard on those that love you. As a wife, a wife who's going through, it's gonna be very hard on your husband. It's not an easy road. It can become very hard on your children. The lady that I spoke about who reached out to me yesterday, she's seeking help now because she said it's now affecting her children. Because what happens is, and this is what I want people to realize, by not speaking about it or not really admitting that you're going through, it doesn't mean that you're not. And you're kind of just digging a deeper pit. And the deeper the pit, the harder it is to get out of it. That's how I feel, So as far as husbands who may have a wife going through, because the husbands, like you say, when something like that happens, you're not prepared for it. When it happened with me, Cliff had no knowledge of what was going on. He just didn't know, like, what the heck just happened in our life. Where's my wife? Where's the woman that I married? And then the kids, where's my mother? Because it was to the point it gets really bad. You can become debilitated, as I was at some point, where you're afraid to come out of your house if your anxiety levels are that high. And you're so depressed, you can't cook a meal, or you can't pick up your kids from school, or so it can get really, really terrible. And I believe that if we can kind of, I wouldn't say stop it, but recognize, admit, speak about it, because I realized with my situation, before everything really went spiraling, there was some things going on in my mind. And I knew that all was not well with me. I knew that all was not right, but I kept pushing. But one of the things I experienced too when I was going through, Nora said something earlier about when she had the last baby, when she got pregnant, she felt like, oh my God, almost like it was her fault. And I feel very bad. I felt very bad for Cliff, for my husband, when I was going through, because I'm like, I'm a basket case. I'm a mess. I'm not the wife that I need to be to him. And, is this man going to stay with me? Am I going to be single after this? Because you're in such a state that not, you're more of a liability at that point than you are an asset to your husband. And I'm not saying it to be mean. I'm just saying that's the reality of it. You become a liability, and the husband now has to kind of step in and what do you say to a husband? Because I know people say, yeah, well, you're supposed to be better for worse, but when that is actually happening, and you're actually dealing with a wife that's in a mental crisis, and this wife is not able to do any of the things that she would have been able to do, or even a loved one. We're using husband, but it could be a friend. You have a friend that you counted on, and all of a sudden now the friend is in emotional turmoil, and they're not the friend that they used to be, or the sister that they used to be, or you may be a mother and your child is going through, and now, what, like, how can we really, really deal with that? Okay, Adrian Cartwright said, I am living it. Needed to hear this. Wow, Adrian. Well, I'm so happy that you're tuned in. And this is the reason for the show, because we know that people are out there experiencing it. We realize this. And we know that if you're not experiencing it, you have a loved one experiencing it. So, Dax, how do you be that husband?
Like I said earlier, again, on the truth of matters now, all the information you're giving us to have somebody understanding that you need to stick beside your wife, like I said earlier. If you feel as though she need to go see a doctor, you go with her. You need to find out what's going on. And in the process of love is just a wonderful thing. When a person begin to feel that love.
Right, I want to say
They
what
go-
I remember
yes.
earlier, just how you said that, but before I go again. I know of somebody, and it was a husband and a wife, and truly, the wife started doing things that were odd. Now, the wife's family recognized that some of these things were odd. The friends recognized that some of these things were odd, right? People that know her recognized, even her husband recognized that some of these things were odd, but they did nothing. And in fact, it was just like, I won't call her name, but let's say the person's name was Mary. Child, Mary looked like she losing it. Okay, you just said Mary looked like she losing it. You didn't do anything. You ain't tried to intervene. You ain't tried to get somebody to speak to this woman. You ain't tried to get this lady to a medical doctor. And you're a husband. And today, I look at that situation, and the marriage is now no longer. And I truly believe that the husband really failed her. Because he knew, and Bahamians seem like that's the type of mentality they have. You know something's going on. You can see a person losing their mind. You can see them spiraling into a mental crisis, and all you do is you sit back and say, child, that person losing it. What the heck is that?
Yep, and that's what I'm saying now. So if you see those things, then you want to do something with that.
Yeah,
you want to go to,
you need to be more proactive.
Proactive,
You need to, if you see something
Love in
is
action.
yeah, and it pains me to this day because I know this couple very well. But I truly believe that her husband and even maybe some of her family and friends, they failed her because they knew this was not the person that I knew. And to me, she was at a place where she wasn't really admitting that something was wrong. But like you said, Dax,
In their mind, they don't know that something is
right,
wrong.
and then sometimes you just don't want to come to that place. And like you said, sometimes you got to take the reins and say, no, something is wrong. What you're doing is not normal. We have to address this.
Yep.
And that's what I think is so good about what you're saying, because Bahamians have a very lackadaisical attitude. You see people going, child, she lose her mind. Okay, what you mean? She just lost her mind. This woman was sensible. This woman was sensible for 40 years. This woman was sensible. And in the last year or two, she just lose her mind. And nobody
Noticed,
feel like,
yeah.
not only that, you only think y'all should do something about it?
Yeah.
Because, and I say that because all of the things that you're saying, Dax, if you had not been that support to Nora, where would Nora have been? I mean, I do not know.
I always look at, some persons, when I was inside this dire water on Sandlands, I know of persons that was in there with me.
Yes.
And they are still
in their state
in
today.
their state today.
Exactly.
And I look at my life, I said, is that support system
exactly.
that I had. It's just that
exactly.
support system.
And as we end the show, that is what I want to draw home. The support system is very, very important, because without it, the person may not ever
No, they won't.
come
They
out
won't.
of the mental crisis. But just looking at Dax and Nora, looking at people like me, looking at others, listen, if the correct support system is there, so if you're that person, if you can support your loved one, you know, mental crisis is very complicated.
Yes.
It isn't straightforward, but if you love the person enough to take the time,
Yeah, just take
then
time.
they can get through it most times.
Yes.
Most mental conditions,
They will get through it. Yeah.
they can get through it, but without no help, without no support, and if you neglect or abandon them, then that's it. The person, like Nora said, may just never ever get back to a place of normalcy. So there is hope, there is help, but as a husband, as a mother, as a sister, we have to now step up and do what we have to do to
Yes.
help that loved
Yeah,
one
yeah.
who's going through. Because if you don't, the consequences can be dire,
Yes.
you know, and worst case, suicide. So thank you again. I hope this show was very helpful. Adrian, God's blessings go with you.
Well, Carly and Ronald, thank you all for coming
Yes,
in.
thank you all. Please share the video because we know people out there need this information. Dax, my brother,
And truth of the matter is this: if anybody need us to talk to, you know, you get our contact and
y'all
so
heard
forth.
that? Okay.
If we can help in any which
And
way.
they're serious about that, okay? They're serious about that. So you can contact me, like you said, if you need somebody to talk to, let us know. If you need to contact the dames, we want to thank Nora and Dax for being here. And I have to personally thank them for just being that support for me, for just continuing to help me through. So I pray God's blessings with all of you. And I thank you for tuning in today. Join us same time, same place. Next time, want to say just a quick thank you to my sponsors today, Richie's, Bullseye, and Simply the Best. You are awesome. And Facebook and YouTube viewers, please be blessed today. And subscribe to my YouTube channel. Thank you.
Enough respect.
No.
So, what's your fancy? Ladies, how about medium and wide with dress pumps, slingbacks, flats, wedges, sandals, tennis, nursing shoes, career kicks, and crocs? Men, check out our dress and casual shoes, tennis, cleats, sandals, work boots, and water shoes. And for children, dress shoes, casual, school shoes, tennis, cleats, sandals, ballet, jazz, christening, and bedroom shoes. So complete your look at Richie's Calypso, your #1 family-friendly footwear store. So, what's your fancy? Ladies, how about medium and wide with dress pumps, slingbacks, flats, wedges, sandals, tennis, nursing shoes, career kicks, and crocs? Men, check out our dress and casual shoes, tennis, cleats,